Hey everyone, and welcome to another Hungover Podcast. This week we're delving into some deep, dark mysteries of the universe, whether they're real or not. And you can always catch us on the medium in which you are, or on YouTube, SoundCloud, or iTunes alternatively, if you haven't caught us there yet. And then at the end, maybe you can think up some ways to like, subscribe, comment, leave your own theory, but we'll get to that later. My name is Ivan. Over there, my partner,
Julien. Welcome to the podcast.
You.
Ivan, we start our podcast off every single week by asking each other, just to get the conversation rolling, of course, what media have you been consuming, whether it be movies, music, video games, etc. Books are a thing. And what did you drink last night?
Great question to ask and to start with. Now, the conspiracy is that I had a Magdalena Cabernet Franc last night.
That, I don't believe that conspiracy, but you can convince me otherwise. We'll see.
It could. The true conspiracy was it a 2013 or a 2014? No, I had a very nice Cab Franc from Herman Weimer. I bought it in February, and it's
nice.
Probably a little too. I should have kept it really for a full year before opening it, but whatever. It's good now. And I had that after going to see Beatrice at Dinner.
I actually wanted to see that movie.
I think it's probably worth the viewing. It doesn't have to be in theaters, but there's some really cool shots that would probably benefit from watching it in theaters. But most of it doesn't need to be in a movie theater. I don't think. But it was pretty interesting. I'd like to get your opinion on it when after you saw it.
For those who don't know,
acting.
Sorry, what is that movie about?
So the movie is about Selma Hayek being a Mexican-born, Reiki, what is termed alternative medicine specialist. She does everything from nutrition to massage and sound therapy and different things like that. And she helps out this one family. Her car breaks down when she goes to do a massage at their house, and she gets stuck at the house for dinner with this very loud and gregarious, very embodiment of all conservative things and sins of the rich and famous on the earth, played by John Lithgow.
Yeah, John Lithgow. I love him. He's such a good actor.
Very good acting in this movie. Really. The actors bring a lot to the dialogue, which I think I have my own criticisms of, but I think that the acting itself is well worth to seeing. So
That's
I saw
awesome.
that. I also finished another book in the Ender's Shadow series.
Okay, cool. Which one?
So I reread, this is the third or fourth time I've read it, Shadow of the Hegemon.
Okay.
This time I tried it on audiobook.
Nice.
Just
Yeah,
because
you've been taking advantage.
Yeah, I've been
Audiobooks.
driving. So in the past week I've driven, right around 15 hours. So
Oh my god.
it was a lot of driving, so I
That
needed to
is a
fill
lot.
it with audiobooks and such. So I got through The Shadow of the Hegemon, which is the second in the Ender Shadow series, which follows one of Ender's companions, Bean. It's a really good series. I think it's fun. You can't take it all super seriously, but it's kind of this fun understanding of the world and the future and the political drama and war and different things. It's really interesting and pretty well written. So it also is just very nostalgic for me. So I like to go back to it every once in a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. And so now I've started the third book, Shadow Puppets, but I have a long drive coming up for a 2-hour drive coming up soon. So
You get a good chunk of it done then.
Yeah, it's not too long. They're only 10-hour audiobooks as opposed to I prefer to have them be 15 to 20 hours when I buy them, but
right.
because this is whatever, I bought this one. And then I also checked out the Rooster Teeth movie, Laser Team.
Oh, really? You saw Laser Team? Awesome.
Yeah, I checked out Laser Team. It was okay.
Well, I assume it was well filmed at least.
Yeah. The shots were pretty well done. The script was like hit or miss, and there was a lot of, like all things that Rooster Teeth does, it was very self-referential and very meta. So
if you don't know them, then you're probably not gonna get it at all, right?
So it was that part ground on me. I'm not like a super fan in that way that it's like, oh my god, I recognize that this was this. That's so cool. So, yeah, but in general, I thought the movie was pretty decent. It's a very decent, low-budget, CGI-intensive movie.
That's cool. I completely forgot they had a movie in theaters, which is really cool to me, I guess. They really made it to the big times.
Yeah. Oh,
Hollywood.
And speaking of which, I only saw it because I signed up for YouTube Red.
Oh, okay.
So
nice. How's that going for you?
It's going pretty well. Not seeing any commercials, which is pretty strange. So YouTube.
You're like, oh, I watched all the videos I wanted to watch so quickly. I forgot. Now what do I do?
I'm cutting out like 10 minutes of ads a day now. So Google, YouTube, they're having this special of 3 months. No, you don't have to pay for 3 months if you sign up for YouTube Red by July 4th.
Oh, okay. Maybe I should do that.
So I figured since I'm going to Turkmenistan soon, I might be able to download some YouTube videos and have them for when I'm over there, and my internet connection might not be the best.
That is a really good idea, Yvonne. That is a great idea. But yeah, Yvonne,
Julien,
what have I done?
Yeah.
I've been up to a lot of gaming. Not a lot of... I drank... Actually, on Friday night, I had... My friend, again, put on another show. And this is the friend that did... He started doing like a satire on Johnny Carson... Not Johnny Carson. Which Carson... What's the first name of the famous talk
You had it right,
host?
Johnny Carson.
Is it Johnny Carson?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of the singer. Johnny... Not Johnny. I don't know. Anyways. Cash. Yeah, so I mixed up their names. It is Johnny Carson. Okay.
Lots of Johnnies in showbiz.
Right. They're the most... It's a very common name, so it's probably more likely that. But yeah, so... Yeah, he puts on a talk show. He had a wine tasting in the middle at the end of it. It was pretty funny, and he told us a little bit about the history of some of the wines, which I thought was really cool. The funniest thing was that he didn't have a wine opener, so but he works in construction because his father is a carpenter. And so he always has a bunch of power tools laying around. So what he did was he took a power drill, drilled a screw about just a little bit into it, and then took a hammer and undid it with the hammer at the other side of the hammer. It's pretty funny. Worked perfectly.
Nice.
It's fucking amazing. And then he's like, it was funny because what he was saying is true. He's like, a lot of wine taste. I mean, you might think wine is for snooty, jackass rich people who are really have a stick up their ass and shit like that. But really, there's a wine for everyone. Wine is really great, and you don't have to be rich to enjoy wine. That was basically the message he was trying to send. Doesn't really matter what it tastes like as long as you enjoy it.
Nice.
It's really the case. But so we had a muscadet. I don't really know how to pronounce that. But that's a white wine. It's usually drank with seafood. So it was really good, actually. We had a Riesling. It was a little sweet for my palate, but I still like it because I like most wines.
Were there food pairings with these, or is it just the wine?
No, just the wine. It would have been great, but we're not rich, so we can't feed 20 people.
There were that many people?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
We have a lot of friends that it's more of a lesser an excuse to hang out with each other, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, so we all like to support each other. So I drank some wine, and then I got home and played some more Overwatch on PC this time. I'm playing with Fred and Nick. If you're not going to play with me, Yvonne, I got to play with someone else. And those are my friends from my workplace. And definitely, I actually ended up getting Nex Machina. So I predicted in E3 that Nex Machina was going to come out in September. Didn't hear anything about it. Came out last Tuesday. I didn't know at all. And so I'm really happy. It's a fucking amazing game. More twin stick shooter action for you that's really incredibly hard. Requires an immense amount of focus. You need to learn a lot of patterns and figure out where all the enemies are going to be. And luckily, they understand that a lot of this game is going to be trial and error. So the load times are crazy fast. You don't even notice them.
Oh, that's great.
As soon as you die, you're back in the game. And then I played last night on stream. You can follow me at twitch.tv/JujuBsGood. I played Tekken 7. I'm actually getting pretty good at that game. I got another combo down with Martial Law. He's my favorite character because he's basically Bruce Lee.
There you go.
And you can dress him up. You know the yellow suit that Bruce Lee wears, and I think Enter the Dragon... whatever, the famous one that he wears. You can get that costume for Martial Law. But I learned a combo with him, and it does...
I saw you streaming with that outfit on.
Yeah, I actually don't have it.
Oh, you just had some yellow pants on then?
No, he has yellow pants as default, but they're like dragon pants. They're not the... You know, Bruce Lee has
the full...
it's like
outfit.
a stripe, and it looks like it's from the 70s because it is.
It's the Kill Bill outfit.
Yeah, pretty much. It's exactly that outfit. But yeah, so I was getting better as martial law, and I played... What did I play also? Played some Mario Kart, and I played a lot of Zelda too. I'm getting closer to my goal of 120 strides, Yvonne. I'm at 97 now.
Marching slowly towards that goal.
Slowly. Probably gonna save. I'm flying to Hong Kong next Monday for 7 days, for about a week. So I'm gonna have to play. I'm saving the rest for the plane flights. It should be fun. And yeah, so I've been doing a lot of gaming, and I drank some wine, but not last night. Yeah, so that's about me. That's what I've been up to the past couple weeks. But Yvonne, I think you have a conspiracy theory for me that you'd like to talk about.
Yes.
But specifically, we're going to be going over our top five conspiracy theories for you that we enjoy the media covering or just hearing about. Every now and then you hear a conspiracy theorist talk about something or a headline in the news that's very interesting and grabby because it sounds so out of the norm that you would even say that. For instance, Yvonne, you brought up the flat earthers. These people.
Earthers.
Tell us about the flat earthers, Yvonne. We'll start there.
Flat earthers are these... It's a modern group of people, fairly small in terms of their numbers in the general context of things. But they have some pretty famous members or defenders of their ideas. Some cultural people like B.O.B. famously put on Twitter.
Yes. To this day, I've never heard one of his songs, but...
Airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars, song?
That's his song?
That's a B.O.B. song.
Holy shit. What the fuck? God damn it.
That was when he was writing lyrics to that song, that was the initial impetus for the idea of the flat earth. I don't know if anybody knew that.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, there's also Kyrie Irving was talking about the flat earth in a podcast that he was on when he was talking to some teammates, and then other people in the NBA joined in on talking about the idea that the earth could be flat and not truly believing in it. And then if you YouTube is chock full of these videos of people defending and supporting. I saw an hour-long video of which I lasted about 10 minutes. Of discussing the idea that the earth is flat.
Yes. Also, on the other end, there are plenty of videos on YouTube of people talking about flat earthers and how they're wrong.
Very much so.
Specifically, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson's been on many talk shows and podcasts, video podcasts, where they just keep asking him, what's wrong with these people? I actually just watched one of those videos, but because he told me about this is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
but,
one of the more famous ones was probably Joe Rogan, and
he's a flat earther?
No. He was just, they were discussing.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
the flat Earth conundrum on Joe Rogan's podcast, but
yes, he's an interesting podcast, by the way. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So what exactly they think the Earth is flat, and I believe that the general consensus amongst flat earthers is that Antarctica is a rim of ice that goes all the way around the disk that is the Earth, and
right,
and that the sun is about, I think, 4,000 miles away. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a completely different conceptualization of how far the sun is, the position of the Earth. That basically, if you look at like one of the UN maps of the Earth, where it shows it from basically the North Pole looking down, that is how the Earth actually looks as a disk. And that the gravity functions in a way of pulling things towards the center, or gravity is a totally different idea of how things would work.
Yeah, at all points on this disk, you're going to be being pulled down, apparently, because that's how gravity works, right?
And that NASA and the U.S. government and even Russia at some point, the USSR, they eventually, when they developed rockets, for sure, they wanted to make sure that the Earth was kept under the guise of this conspiracy, and so they signed like the Antarctica Treaty of 61, I think, where the real hidden purpose of that was to make sure that no one could see that the Earth was flat, and that NASA is using that the Earth is flat versus the globe and different science experiments that they're doing in order to gain money and then funnel that back into secret projects or funnel that into other things, or just to make money that way.
Whoa, this is way more complex than I thought it was.
Yeah, and so there's that portion of it. There's also the portion of people that are they truly want to believe that the U.S. government is always lying to people, and there's a lot of truth in terms of the idea that the U.S. government is always keeping cards close to the chest, isn't always telling the public what is going on, and I think that level of mistrust in the government has bred these kinds of conspiracy theories, and we're going to get through a few of them, but this flat Earth one it's come up a lot more recently, and it's pretty prevalent, I think, in this society in terms of dealing with these kinds of just bananas scientific theories. And the thing is, even in the time of Columbus, they didn't even think the Earth was flat.
I know, they figured it out after didn't they kill Galileo after that, about that?
They forced Galileo
to
concede when this is heliocentricity versus geocentricity.
Right.
So this is a little different than flat Earth, because heliocentricity is the sun is at the center of the the solar system, versus the geocentricity where the Earth is at the center of not just the solar system but the universe, because God loves humanity so much that we must be the center of everything.
Well, as you all know, I believe that, of course. Now, even the Greeks knew that the Earth was round.
Yes.
Because they measured, I think, within a very small margin of error, the circumference or I can't remember, the diameter of the Earth, I believe.
Well, once you have the diameter, you can figure out the circumference.
Yes,
so it doesn't matter, because once you figure out a radius or a diameter, you can figure out the circumference.
Of course, and they did this with literally just sticks. They just used 2 sticks, drove them into the ground, measured the shadow, and they were so great with mathematics that they could figure out the diameter of the Earth.
Thanks to the Africans, by the way.
Of course. I mean, come on. this all goes back to where humanity comes from, Africa. Is that a conspiracy theory, Yvonne?
Well, actually, this is a conspiracy
actually, yes.
theory. Because there was a German sociologist or anthropologist, one of the many ologies that study people.
Scientology? I'm kidding.
Not quite. Different conspiracy theory.
Yeah, definitely.
Who created the idea that only white people could be smart enough to develop things, and so ancient Egyptians were white.
Right.
And you see even throughout the art and the history of books, like within art, you see tremendous lightening of skin and different things.
Right, like Cleopatra is normally portrayed as a lighter skinned woman.
Right, a white woman, in fact.
Yeah.
Which would probably not have been the case. But additionally to that, there's the idea, like, so Pythagoras learned his mathematics from Egyptian sources. Like the mathematics of the Greeks, a lot of their scholars would travel to, like, the Library of Alexandria or different places where the Egyptian scholars had built up a tremendous amount of knowledge, and they would learn from them and then bring it back to Greece. So a lot of the things that are attributed to Grecian philosophers and thinkers and mathematicians, etc., have their basis in Africa, and it was this German supremely racist ideology from this one German guy that I forget the idea of, who really rewrote the history books. And Hegel then also said that Africa has no history. So,
oh my god,
yeah.
that is
that is a greater conspiracy, which is just that these white German scholars and academics wanted to wipe out the history of development of humanity through African influence. But flat Earth, like, as you said, the Greeks knew that the Earth wasn't flat based on the mathematical calculations that they had, and it's just an incredibly, like, the reason the flat Earth term appears is more of a modern invention, where it is a derogatory thing calling somebody anti-science. Pretty much.
I hope no one that's listening to this podcast is a flat earther. I really hope that much, because I'm not gonna get mad at someone for thinking that that's true, that the Earth is flat. The real problem comes in the fact that that there are very famous people that can actually influence other people to think the way that they think. So I don't want to get mad at B.O.B. for thinking the Earth is flat, but you have to understand what you're saying and how you're sort of ruining the educational system of this goddamn country, which we also talked about on a previous podcast. Go check it out. But yeah, so it really comes down, Yvonne, you can visibly see the horizon, right? And if you ever look at a
curvature,
ship,
literally see the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah, for the most part. And if you ever see a ship sailing off on the horizon, maybe you're at the beach or something, you see a cargo ship going away, it will disappear from the bottom up. So that is enough evidence for me alone. I don't need to even see the pictures from space of the Earth. There are people orbiting the Earth right now that know that the Earth is definitely round. And
you want to know the most accepted conspiracy theory based on the curvature of the Earth?
What is it, Yvonne?
The sunset.
The sunset, exactly. Wait. It's the accepted...
Because everybody thinks that when we're measuring the sunset...
Yes.
It's actually when we can't see the sun anymore. But the problem is that image that we're seeing as the sun goes over the horizon it's a mirage. It's a trick of light. We are not actually seeing the sun at that point.
Right.
The sun is well over the horizon, but based on the curvature of the Earth and the different things, and the specific angle of the curvature of the Earth and the distance of the sun from the Earth, we have this mirage image of the sun that lasts a long time.
Of course, that's pretty cool. And also, there is a building in Dubai that proves that the Earth is round. I believe during Ramadan, that if you're eating, of course, this is the holiday where you have to fast during the day and you can eat all you want at dinner time.
No,
but
it's a
after
simple
sunset,
meal
after
at dinner
sunset, right? I'm kidding. If you're an American, then you can eat all you want. Now the point is, they have a restaurant at the top of this building, and they have to set. They only serve people 2 minutes later because the sun sets later if you're on the top of this building because it's so tall. So
is that the Burj Khalifa?
Yeah, the Burj Khalifa. If you're on the top of that building, the sun is setting a whole 2 minutes later than if you were on the bottom, which is pretty cool to me. But that shows the curvature of the Earth alone. But yeah, Vaughn, that is indeed one conspiracy theory that the Earth is flat. I don't even want to go into gravity and how that works. I guess I can.
It's just God's hand pushing us down.
Yeah, he's holding us down. That's the only reason we're flying around. It's not like if you would only get pulled to... I don't want to go into it.
But that's the thing, right?
It's too much.
So gravity we talk about the theory of gravity, and obviously to the layman, a theory is something that isn't proven or whatnot. But
yes.
It obviously holds a different meaning in the scientific community, which doesn't translate really well into how people interpret the word theory.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
So I think that is one of the reasons that these conspiracy theories gain power and credence, is because there's that the nomenclature isn't fully translatable.
Yes.
But I think the other thing is that we could be experiencing a force akin to gravity, and it is God, and there's no one that could prove to me that it's not.
Are you saying that one conspiracy theory, the conspiracy theories pop up because you can't prove them wrong?
Is that a lot of it is that, yeah. Because it's an open-ended question that can't be proven correct. So I could say that my conspiracy is that gravity is a force that we experience, but it's not a force of nature. It's a force of the immortal God.
I can't prove you wrong, Ivan. There's no reason why gravity should exist, but there's no reason why it shouldn't. I think that the one conspiracy theory that sort of aligns with that way of thinking is the Matrix. That should be our second conspiracy theory that we talk about. Number 2 would be that we are all living in a computer simulation. I personally think that I don't see why this wouldn't be true. I can't prove it wrong. How else do you explain that Donald Trump is president of the United States right now? How else do you explain anything, Ivan? We're in a goddamn computer system.
No, it's like, so this is one that I find is easy to excuse all the emergency vehicles in the background.
Yeah,
it's easy to think about because the Cubs win in a World Series against the Indians, which they had neither team had won in X amount of years, but especially the Cubs, and they have to go back to a Game 7 in the strung out series and win after going past the 9th inning, and there's a timeout for inclement weather, and they come back and win this Game 7.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly
Cleveland beats the Golden State Warriors in Game 7 after being down 3-1 in the series. Brexit.
Unbelievable. Brexit. Period. Trump. Period.
It's just there are so many of these things that feel like outliers in the greater system of things.
Yes.
And perhaps it's just that we put too much trust into the statistical methodologies that we're using, and they need to change. But what if they need to change because we've transitioned into a computer simulation, and we're running the most extreme small side of that simulation. So our statistical models should work, but because they're being skewed by this computer simulation that we are running in, they don't fit. The same thing happened with the recent election. Theresa May was supposed to have a grand victory in her general election, and she's come away with a victory, but she didn't even earn a majority. She had to create the Conservative Party in the UK had to create a collaboration with another party in order to win a majority in their parliament.
Did you hear about the intergalactic space lord that ran against Theresa May?
No,
His
I
name is
didn't.
Buckethead.
Oh, yes, I did. I saw that picture, yeah.
That guy's awesome, man. And England is awesome for allowing him to run. But yeah, I personally think that it's not so far-fetched to think that we are all on a computer system, considering there's no way to prove it wrong. What if it's programmed exactly that everything feels real? Everything is everything that you sense with your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, tongue, all those things are programmed in. As Cypher says, man, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. So I don't see why.
It's exceedingly difficult to prove, right? This is why the philosopher Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." And this the whole idea behind it was that he could have been a brain in a vat where an evil demon was controlling everything around him and making these images feel vivid and real. But that the only reason that he knew he existed was because he could think.
Mm-hmm.
So in this computer simulation, all these people around us, these random crazy coincidences that we could think about, they could either be a coincidence of nature and the system that we live in the world, or they could be just computers simulating things.
Well, yeah, exactly. So what if in fact we are programmed in the way that we can think? What if or the simulation that we live in? Or what if we are real, but we can think, but we're still in a simulation? Right? Can we break out? Can we become the Matrix?
Can we be Neo?
Can we all be Neo? Some rules can be broken. And Trump is doing that. But yeah, so yeah, that is one conspiracy theory that hasn't really gained much traction on. But I still think it deserves a place on the list.
But it has traction among a lot of people that you wouldn't think would think this way. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I don't know if he was being serious or not. And he said it was a 50-50 that our entire existence is a program on someone else's hard drive.
Some alien's hard drive.
Yeah, or there was who's the Tesla guy? Elon Musk said that it's more likely than not that we are in some computer simulation.
He's never been wrong before, so I agree.
That's true. As far as I know, he's always been right. So the idea is prevalent among a lot of very famous scientists. But here's the thing. So we respect those people.
Yes.
As icons of people who innovate and know. But on the other side, there are people like Kyrie Irving and B.O.B., who are prevalent for the Flat Earth Society. So are we falling into the same logical fallacy trap that those people are?
Well, slightly. It is the same. It's the same situation, but it's different because this conspiracy theory doesn't. You could say, all right, well, it's all a computer simulation, so I'll just kill myself or something, right?
Right.
Or, right, my life doesn't matter now. So you can think of it that way, or you can say, well, it doesn't really matter, as opposed to thinking about the flat Earth, where it actually, if you think that the Earth is flat, then you don't agree to so many other things, right? You don't agree about the laws of the laws of gravity or or anything that governs the universe, basically. And
the laws of physics.
Yes, and if you don't agree that those exist, as they do, then you are living a lie. But if we are indeed in a computer simulation, I agree with Cypher. Ignorance is bliss. You can just go on living your life and enjoy it. And you can still learn things that are facts about the laws that govern the universe, of physics, that govern our maybe computer simulation universe. But they're still facts. This is just how the world works. So you can go from there and branch out with your ideas and become a useful human being, as opposed to someone who doesn't agree with any science because they are a flat earther, and then you can't go on and be a decent human being after that. I'm sorry. I think it's just you can't do it. You're crazy.
I just wish if we were living in a computer simulation, it would be more like Reboot, the TV show,
than The Matrix.
Because I would like to just have superpowers and like be able to manipulate things in that cool CG environment of Reboot.
Well, if that happens to be the truth, and I'm not given superpowers, at least it existed for someone. I hope you get superpowers upon. Well, we've been talking about The Matrix, of course, but I think we can move on to the other three that we would like to talk about. There are other conspiracy theories out there, and of course this is a top 5 list of our top 5 list. I think that... Which would you like to talk about? The moon landing? Oh, sorry.
Another way that if we aren't living in a computer simulation, but we need to be pacified as a people. Chemtrails.
This is a very prevalent conspiracy theory.
This one is so stupid.
Usually people who think that chemtrails are a thing. Of course, this is the trails that you'll see that are being given off by the plane exhaust from the planes that fly above you. People think that those are chemicals, chemical gas that is used to control our minds by the American government, basically, or to keep us very unrebellious, rather, I'd say, to keep us calm. Usually these people also think that 9/11 was a conspiracy, I believe.
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, chemtrails. What's wrong with this? What is wrong with this conspiracy theory? Move on.
So chemtrails, you've described pretty well, is that when an airplane flies across the sky, there are those white clouds that you see that are left behind. Now, the physics of this you might be able to explain more than I can, but it's dealing with the low pressure and the temperature up there, and it's basically that it creates this cloud vapor trail.
Yes.
And
so it's actually droplets of water that you're seeing. It's obviously you're burning a bunch of jet fuel, and that exhaust has to go somewhere. You wouldn't be able to see those gases normally, like in a car, but because it's so cold up there, a little bit of water vapor gets into it, and you're seeing the light diffract off the water droplets. So that's why you can see it. It's like a cloud.
So the initial abbreviation for these were contrails, condensation trails.
Yes.
And over time, it was then skewed that contrails was a shortening and a vague reference to chemtrails or chemical trails. And those are the ones that were dropped. And this is ridiculous. But this conspiracy theory actually has some grounding in truth.
Yes.
And I'll explain to you why. It has nothing to do with pacification of people, but there has been the development, and there's a spider dropping.
I have a question. Oh God, spiders are a conspiracy theory too. But I have a question. Is this only an American conspiracy theory, as most conspiracy theories are, or is this a global thing?
Oh, that's a great question. I have no idea.
Okay. I'm guessing it's just American, but I don't know.
So the other thing is that to combat global warming, it has been proposed, though not enacted, that airplanes, commercial airplanes, or whatever that's flying around the world, have boxes attached to them, which, as they fly, release a chemical of, I don't remember the exact idea of it, but essentially it would create a shield that would be able to cool the earth, and because of blocking certain amount of sunlight and different things, in a way that would be acceptable to live on, but would remain a way of defending against the idea of global warming. So it would affect the way that the earth would be heated and prevent the catastrophic timing of global warming, or the catastrophic events of global warming. Okay. So there are some legitimate dangers to this idea of planes just flying willy-nilly and releasing things, but they have nothing to do with controlling the population. And the chemical solution to global warming hasn't been enacted because A, we don't fully understand how it will affect things, and B, it will affect and permanently change things like how we see the sky and different things. They will be permanently affected, and once you do this, it's kind of like you can't go back from it. So this is like a last-ditch effort sort of situation, and so it hasn't been enacted. But I think there are links of legitimacy to the idea that commercial jets will be spraying some sort of chemical that will affect us as a global population.
I see. I personally think it's just exhaust from the plane.
Well, yeah, this as it currently is just exhaust from the plane.
Okay.
But in the future, I was listening to an interview on NPR with a global warming.
Oh, it's a future thing.
Yeah, so it's a global warming climate specialist.
I see.
So he was saying that there is like in case of emergency, break glass button, which would be these crystals that would fly around.
Okay, I mean that's not a bad idea. I don't think that's a horrible idea. Of course, we intend to talk about global warming and its various deniers, climate change deniers, on a future podcast, because we think that topic could be talked about at length in an entire podcast. So tune in for that probably next week. We'll see. But yes, Yvonne, I think that these chemtrails are ridiculous. One of my friends actually believed in it. So whenever... so funny. Whenever he saw a plane flying across the air and he saw the trail, he would cover his mouth immedately.
Oh,
it was so funny. He doesn't think of that anymore. But we were in middle school. But yeah, it was pretty funny that he did that. He also made us. He also was a big germaphobe, and so whenever we went on the train and went to his house after, he would make us put our backpacks in a cardboard box that he had, and our shoes in a cardboard box, because he was really afraid of he was a germaphobe about the train, and we would put our bags on the ground on the train. So, yeah. And I think there was one time where we sat on the seat and he got so anal about it that he made us sit on a piece of cardboard in his house instead of on his couch. Yeah,
that
was pretty intense. Good kid still. Now he's a good kid. He was still a good kid back then. His heart is in the right place. Just, oh well. Maybe I should tell him about this podcast. No. Now, Yvonne, moving on from chemtrails, because that is a hoax. That is, get out of here. Come on. We've got a more talked about, two last ones, more talked about conspiracy theory that are still argued to this day. They're old conspiracy theories going back to the moon landing. Come on. this is one that you actually believe in, if I'm not mistaken. The moon landing was a hoax.
I have a healthy amount of skepticism for this one.
Oh man. I mean, I don't care either way. There's nothing to be retrieved from the moon, in my opinion. It's just a rock that orbits the Earth.
There's the Transformers based on the dark side of the moon. Duh.
That it totally exists. The dark side of the moon. Okay, look, the moon landing. Neil Armstrong, I always mix it up. Oh yeah, no, Lance Armstrong. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson is on the moon. Visited the moon. No, Neil Armstrong, he's there, man. He's still there. No, he was there. Can't you still see the American flag on the moon?
I think so.
So shouldn't that be enough proof? Because
I have never looked this up or seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's not true. No, I see. I guess I could see where the conspiracy comes from. Of course, this is a conspiracy that the Americans never actually stepped on the moon. I think, how many missions did they send out there?
So there were, I don't know the amount of moon landings. It's something like Apollo 11 through like 18 landed on the moon, except for 13, obviously.
Right, and but I thought there were only actually 2 people that have been on the moon, right?
There are many more people that have physically stepped on the moon.
They were just the first 2.
Listen, I believe this theory to an extent, but I also went to space camp, and when they talked about guys played golf on the moon, it was just like, well, I guess.
Okay, no.
So there have been I want to see manned moon landings. There have been a bunch. So 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17 all landed on the moon.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 astronauts that have landed on the moon.
And it's an incredible feat, by the way. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have gone there. And of course, it also inspired so many people to become scientists and work for NASA. But I think it was a great idea in that respect. I'm just saying we're not in a different place because we landed there.
Right.
Well, or maybe we are because we inspired more scientists. I don't know. But we got nothing of value from the moon because it's just a cold rock in space.
It was essentially just a way to prove that the U.S. was leading this technological battle against the USSR.
Right. So do you think that the USSR started this conspiracy theory?
No. I think that there were plenty of... So let's place this in time.
Yes.
So the moon landing is 1969. The Vietnam War...
started in 71, right?
The Vietnam War...
69.
Is the American involvement is earlier than that? I think it's
like 65.
60s, yeah. So this is a time of Vietnam War. This is time of kind of like Nixon era. This is the time of really
Johnson
a lot of distrust with the American government and
from the people,
from the own U.S. citizens, right? And there's a lot that goes on. I mean, the next one that we're talking about, JFK, is around the same time period. There's a lot that goes on with this. And then the conspiracy is that the U.S. faked this moon landing. One of the ideas is that it was, for instance, filmed in Roswell. Kubrick filmed it.
Kubrick filmed it.
Is one of the theories behind it, and that he later admitted it. There's also these little hints that he drops in his movies that he filmed the moon landing. There are crazy theories that don't really hold up to scientific argument when you look at boots that were making footprints on the moon and different things.
Right.
And how did that happen? Oh, they had heavy boots. It's just ridiculous bullshit. And I think it wouldn't have fit the Soviets who had the correct technology to monitor the different things that they would have been able to see with telescopes of some measure how this was happening. So I feel like if there was very little opposition from the Soviet structure, but at the same time, maybe the Soviet Union was going through a period of economic instability in terms of their ability to fund such extravagances as going to Iraq, just to say that you've gone to Iraq. So it would have been within the ideology of the premiership of the Soviet Union to make sure that such extravagant spending was curtailed and that they could be instead directed to things like more nuclear weapon development and things like that within the rocket program. Now, that's a separate idea of conspiratorial thinking. And the Soviet Union wasn't in dire straits in the 60s, 70s, so it would have been a little bit more difficult to understand. But I think that for a long time I did not believe the moon landing existed. I have come around to the idea that it has happened, especially since there were multiple moon landings afterwards.
Right.
But it's been a very difficult one for me personally to agree with, especially being raised in the household in which I was raised, in which there were several non-believers in the moon landing themselves. Therefore, leading me to my one of my many points about conspiracy theories, in that they could also be something that you grew up with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We all grow up following our parents' views on life, pretty much, and it's not until you're a little older that you can start thinking for yourself, really. And really, of course, I'm not saying all sons and daughters, kids, believe in what their parents believe, but it's common to align politically or socially with your parents, just because you usually admire your parents. I mean, to some extent, right? They raised you. So you're right, yeah. How you're raised, you can come up with conspiracy theories that way, and that's really how they're passed down. Considering the moon landing was or the moon landing was, let's see, it's 2017. It was 50 years ago, around, almost. So that is a lot of children growing up believing that it was a hoax. So, yeah, so that sort of leads in actually a lot into our final conspiracy theory, the JFK assassination. Was it really done by Lee Harvey Oswald? Is that the right guy?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the right guy. Awesome. I remembered something from history class. Yeah, was it really done by him? How many shots were fired? Did it actually ricochet? Was it just
Could
done
he
by
have
someone in
gone
the
back
car?
into the left?
Yeah, there are so many thoughts on this, because it does seem, once you examine a little closer, you delve into the evidence, you can see where this conspiracy theory comes from, because they explain it more or less well, I think. But I mean, why kill him? What did he do to you? Come on. What do you think about this conspiracy theory on JFK's assassination, Ivan?
So I think that a lot of the conspiracy theory for the assassination of John F. Kennedy,
yes,
is built around the amount of skepticism of one person being able to do this, and then since then, I don't know. The assassination of a president in modern history is obviously something that's very important, and people want to get to the bottom of it. And one guy being just in charge of this assassination just feels wrong to a lot of people.
Yes.
And it had to be part of some greater strategy. Somebody wouldn't just kill the president for no good reason in the midst of an election. Or, well, even for a good reason, one person wouldn't have killed the president. He had to have been part of something. Like, it's hard for a loner to do something. So then there's these stretches of the imagination of Harvey Oswald being sent to the Soviet Union, being part of the KGB. There are these stretches of the imagination of it being anti-Castro Cubans and pro turnover of the Cuban government people who were there, people from the military establishment who didn't want John F. Kennedy to mess with their funding, their strategy, etc. It's the mafia gets involved at some point in all of these things, in which at a point in time where the Italian mafia did have a lot of strength and reach and did do these kinds of open violent things, but it's so difficult to comprehend that one person would just do this, that it is super believable that it had to be a greater conspiracy. And there are, in fact, reasons why a lot of different very powerful political or cultural or power groups would want the assassination of a president, no less John F. Kennedy, in the midst of such a dramatic period of political upheaval and political strife. So you had the Cuban Missile Crisis that just resolved in '62, but Cuba is still on the mind. There's a lot of it's in the midst of the Cold War, and we as younger people who were born after the end of the Cold War, basically, it's very difficult for us to comprehend the amount of pressure that was felt between these two sides.
Right.
A lot of these things really bring the idea of one person just doing this is really, really weird. But you know what's really cool? So the Zapruder film is a film made by one guy of the assassination. You can see JFK going down. And it was a shaky cam footage. But thanks to even things like YouTube, you can put the Zapruder film in and excise the shakiness. You can make it flat.
Oh, that's funny.
And stabilize the video. So there have been a
hilarious.
lot more stabilization of the Zapruder film and different things where we can look at it from a different perspective. And there's always that really weird conspiracy Oswald couldn't have made those shots because there were, I think, 3 shots rang out or something like that, and they had the best army snipers and they couldn't do it, or best FBI snipers and they couldn't do it. And it's just, there's a lot of weird things happening around the time.
No, yeah, that was a very interesting time in world history, world politics and history, but primarily American history is very very chaotic during the 60s and 70s, and so it makes sense that these and of course these people are still alive. All the people who or all the young people that grew up during that time are still alive, so they carried on the conspiracy theories and maybe smoked a little too much weed, I don't know, during the 70s. No, but I see where it could come from. It does seem a little far-fetched that one guy would get so worked up over JFK's presidency that he would kill him in such an elaborate way, of course. But yeah, it's... And didn't they catch him also when he confessed?
Caught him in a movie theater.
Right.
The thing is that he never went to trial. I think, because there was another guy who was part of the mob. He was a low-level mob guy named Jack Ruby, who then shot to death Lee Harvey Oswald, and then Jack Ruby himself died. So this led also into the further development of this conspiracy theory. And I think for a lot of it, I also kind of believe in this one. I find it very difficult for this one guy to have done it without support from anybody. Now, whether it was just him that committed it, that could have been it. But I find it difficult to believe that he would have done this by himself without the support or motivation from outside forces.
Right, so you could say that conspiracy theories really arise when there's no, I mean, not that there isn't definitive evidence for some of these things, but when people are, when there's so many different sides to a story and you don't get a definitive answer from the person who did it, or who allegedly did it, let's say, then people speculate, and people love to speculate. So this is really the rise of conspiracy theories and why they exist. But yeah, so Yvonne, those are our top 5 conspiracy theories. Of course, again, with flat Earth, moon landing, JFK assassination, chemtrails, and the Matrix. Go ahead and tell us in the comments section below, or tweet at us at Gaming Hungover. You can even email us your top 5 conspiracy theories that are your favorite, maybe that you believe in yourself, at gaminghungover@gmail.com. Yvonne, we always end our podcast in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. We love this radio, or I do anyways.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Of course, you can send in your music at gaminghungover@gmail.com. It would be a wonder if we could listen to your music. Of course, the music that you wrote, co-wrote, produced, played an instrument on, etc., or even your friends. It's sort of like free advertisement for you. And of course, you share it with the Hungover gaming community. Today, no one submitted it yet again, but I, of course, came up with a song as I usually do. I'm continuing on down the line of video game music that I really like. Today's selection comes from Donkey Kong Country 2. I believe this is the most common song that's played from this song. I believe the name, I can't find the name. Fuck. This is like the intro song, I believe. It's Sticker Bush Symphony, Ramble Blast. That's what the YouTube video title is. I don't think that's the name of the song. I'll have to go. I'll put the name of the song in the description below. But yes, the top comment is play this at my funeral. You can do. Oh my god, that's funny. But anyways, we're gonna play this song for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Again, leave a thumbs up if you like the video. Please rate us on iTunes. We love 5-star reviews. It helps with our visibility, and you will maybe even read some of your reviews on air. That would be really fun. But yeah, of course, if you have any questions, contact us. You have all the information in the comment section below, etc. Until next time, guys, I'm Julien.
And I'm Yvonne. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.